If someone had told me the richest woman in the room would lean down and whisper, "Just follow me," I would have bristled. The first time Avery Blackwell laid eyes on her, the woman was in the wrong spot, in the wrong dress, at the wrong moment, yet she looked more right than anyone had ever looked in Avery's life. The ballroom fell still. Crystal chandeliers glimmered overhead, and cameras clicked with the jitter of anxious heartbeats. Avery, the CEO of Blackwell Global Enterprises, the East Coast's most coveted bachelorette, stood on the grand stage of the Harborview Grand, seconds from announcing a fake engagement, a meticulously engineered PR move meant to calm shareholders, quiet rumors about her private life, and buy time to close the company merger that could define her career. Every detail had been practiced. The lighting, the music, the script down to the pre-approved bride-to-be, who had signed an NDA in exchange for a six-figure fee and a future fashion deal. None of it mattered now, because the woman walking up the aisle toward her wide-eyed, unmistakably frightened, was not the actress Avery's team had hired. She was someone else, and she was breathtaking. Dark hair, tousled and barely pinned, a white gown that looked borrowed, maybe lifted from a backstage rack, combat boots barely hidden beneath the hem, lipstick smudged like she'd kissed someone and then thought better of it, or maybe wanted to do it again. Avery's voice caught in her throat. She wasn't sure whether to stop the ceremony or let it burn. The girl looked just as confused. A stage hand whispered urgently in Avery's earpiece, "We had a mix-up. The other girl is stuck in the freight elevator. This one, she's from catering. Her name's Remy." Remy, a name soft enough to be a whisper, sharp enough to feel like a dare. The crowd oblivious. Hey, if you're enjoying this story, go ahead and drop a like to help us grow even more. And let me know in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, what score would you give this story so far? Your feedback makes all the difference. Erupted into applause. Avery's VP gave her a look from the front row. Play along. The board was watching. The cameras were rolling. She had seconds to choose between order and chaos. Avery took Remy's hand. It was trembling. So was hers. "Just follow my lead," Avery whispered to close to her cheek, breath warm. "What is happening right now?" Remy hissed under her breath. "You're marrying me?" Avery said deadpan, as the officiant launched into the script for the next 6 minutes. Smile. "I swear to God, I was just trying to drop off champagne, and now you're the face of a billion-dollar company's future. Congratulations." Remy looked like she might faint, laugh, or run, but she didn't. She stayed put, lifted her chin, and went with it. The charge between them was electric, dangerous, bewildering, and so tangible it sent Avery's pulse racing for all the wrong reasons, or maybe the right ones. They exchanged vows, scripted, hilariously vague. A ring slid onto Remy's finger, platinum, borrowed, unmistakably not hers. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Avery paused just long enough for Remy to glance up and whisper, "Don't you dare," which, of course, made restraint impossible. The kiss was quick, practiced, staged for the cameras, yet Avery tasted something in it. Defiance. Surprise. The start of an addiction. As they pulled apart, Remy muttered, "I'm so getting fired for this. Not if I promote you." Avery breathed. The crowd erupted. Champagne spilled. Reporters swarmed, and then Remy disappeared. 1 second she stood beside Avery, gripping a crystal flute like a hostage's prop, and the next she was gone, slipping through the kitchen doors back to whatever world she belonged to. A world without 7-figure gowns, PR contracts, or kisses that demanded answers. Avery looked for her quietly. Days went by. Nothing. She told herself it was irrelevant, a blip in the script, a wrong turn, a PR mess to mop up. But whenever the photos surfaced, that kiss, those eyes, that spark, she felt the tectonics shift. 3 days later, an unmarked envelope landed on her desk. A catering invoice and a handwritten note. "Next time, warn a girl before you put a ring on it." Avery smiled and murmured to no one, "There's going to be a next time." She couldn't stop checking her inbox. For a woman who negotiated mergers worth more than most people will ever see, who ignored senators and deleted texts from actual royalty, it was mortifying to admit even privately that she was refreshing email, like a teenager waiting on a crush. But Remy didn't reply. Not to the thank you message Avery had ghost sent under an alias. Not to the bonus transfer 5 times any caterer should earn. And definitely not to the sleek black invitation that read, Miss Blackwell cordially invites you to a private dinner, to apologize for the absurdity of last Saturday night. Nothing. Silence. Avery hated silence in natural, uncontained, unpredictable land. It left her thinking to hard about the one kiss she couldn't counterfeit. On the 6th day, she decided to act. She cleared her schedule, pulled on jeans actual denim, enough to make her assistant drop her tablet and drove an unmarked car to the address on the catering invoice Remy had left behind. It wasn't what she expected. A warehouse turned loft, red bricks, and high windows. Paint peeling like someone was always halfway through fixing it, but never finished. Avery buzzed once. Nothing again. Still nothing. She was about to turn away when the door opened halfway, and there she was. Remy, barefoot, messy hair, tank top with faded ink that said, "Not yours to fix. I was wondering how long it would take you. You knew I'd come. You're predictable. You kissed me first. You paid me after." Avery smirked. "I've had worse nights." Remy leaned against the frame, arms crossed, unapologetically unbothered. "So, what do you want, CEO? Dinner. You've already tasted the catering. This time, I want the chef." Silence, then a smirk. "You're lucky I find cocky women hot." Avery blinked. "You do?" "Not you in particular. Just the species. Charming, sarcastic, hungry." "Fine," Remy said, sighing like she was doing Avery a huge favor. "I'll feed you, but not in some 5-star paparazzi-infested place. If we're doing this, we're doing it my way, which is no staff, no press, no dresses. You bring the wine, I'll bring the sarcasm." Avery's lips twitched. Done. 2 nights later, Avery arrived at Remy's place again, this time with an overpriced bottle of red and 0 expectations. She didn't wear makeup. Her blazer was wrinkled. She was for once entirely out of her element, and it thrilled her. Remy opened the door with flour on her cheek and cinnamon in the air. The loft smelled like heat and sugar, and something deeper, something safe. Dinner was a disaster. The risotto burned. The salad was mostly rugula and attitude. Avery dropped her fork twice. Remy spilled wine on the counter, but they laughed. Real laughter. Loud, unfiltered, messy. Avery couldn't remember the last time she laughed without calculating how it would look in a photo. After dinner, they sat on the floor, knees touching, passing the bottle between them. Avery loosened. So did Remy. Secrets slipped out like steam. Avery confessed she didn't remember the last time someone said her name without an agenda. Remy admitted she dropped out of culinary school to take care of her sister. There was a long pause after that. A heavy one. Avery turned to her. "Do you regret it?" "Not for a second, but some nights. I wish I'd had someone who gave a damn about my dreams." "What about now?" Remy looked at her. "Now I'm staring at a billionaire in borrowed sweatpants, who might be the weirdest plot twist of my entire life. And I don't hate it." Avery leaned in, breath catching. "Remy, don't." "Why not?" "Because I don't do this. Not with people like you." "Then what am I?" "You're dangerous," Remy whispered. "You make people forget what hurts. I could help you remember what heals." "See," Remy said, eyes dark, voice unsteady, dangerous. But she didn't pull away. Not when Avery's fingers traced the side of her face. Not when their lips met again. This time without a crowd or cameras or expectations. Just breath and skin and heat. The kiss was longer, deeper, slower. When they finally pulled apart, Remy's voice was barely a breath. "This doesn't mean anything." "I know," Avery lied. "It's just dinner." But even as she said it, she knew nothing about this was simple, and it was only just beginning. Avery didn't sleep that night. She left Remy's loft past midnight, hair messy, lips still tingling, brain useless. Her driver didn't ask questions, which was good because Avery didn't have answers. She just sat in the back seat replaying the kiss on a loop, heart betraying every instinct for logic. For the first time in years, she hadn't planned what came next. She always had a plan, always. But now she had a girl in combat boots in her head and no PR strategy to contain the chaos. The next morning the headlines hit. Someone had leaked photos from the wedding. The media was ablaze. CEO's mystery bride. Who is she? A real kiss or a real setup? Avery Blackwell's engagement sparks queer frenzy. Avery's board was divided. Half furious, half thrilled. Publicity was up. Stock prices climbed. But no one knew the truth that the woman beside Avery in those photos had never been supposed to be there. And Avery had never wanted someone to stay so badly. Her assistant barged in mid-meeting, tablet in hand. The media wants a statement. And we've got 3 networks offering exclusive interviews. Tell them nothing, Avery said flatly. You want to ride the mystery? I want to protect her. The assistant blinked. Remy. The name landed like a secret escaping. Later that day, Remy texted just one sentence. Did your world explode yet? Avery stared at the screen, smiling despite herself. Only a little, Remy replied instantly. You owe me lunch for the trauma. Dinner. You don't negotiate well. I'm used to getting what I want. Dangerous words. I remember you saying that the last time you kissed me. I'm free tonight. So am I. That night they met at a tiny bar in Kingsbridge that Remy chose specifically because no one there knows what a stock option is. Avery tried to blend in. Jeans, black jacket, no makeup, but head still turned. Not because she was famous, but because of the way she looked at Remy like a match about to burn down her carefully built life. They found a booth in the back. Drinks came quickly. The flirting came quicker. So, what exactly did you tell your people about me? Remy asked, sipping her whiskey. That you're a threat to national productivity. Is that a compliment? It's an understatement. Did you always talk like this? Or is it just with me? I only flirt when I'm terrified. Remy smirked. Then you must be absolutely panicking. I am good. Hours passed. Conversation spun into confessions. Avery admitted she hated her penthouse. Too cold, too quiet. Remy admitted she still talked to her late mother's photograph when no one was watching. Avery nearly reached for her hand. Remy almost let her. Almost. You're not used to being seen, are you? Remy asked softly. I'm used to being photographed, not seen. Then what are we doing? You're ruining me. Or maybe Remy said I study. I'm finally making you real. They didn't kiss that night. They almost did twice. But Remy pulled back, said she needed to breathe. Avery respected it, mostly. She sent a car anyway, waited until Remy got home safe, then spent the next 2 hours staring at the ceiling of her penthouse, haunted by the curve of Remy's smile. The next day, Remy walked into Avery's office unannounced. Her staff looked ready to call security until Avery told them to leave. Alone. Remy dropped a manila folder on Avery's desk. What's this? My resume. Avery blinked. You're applying for a job. You said you wanted to protect me. Fine. Put me on the payroll. Make it official. That way, if they dig into my life, at least I'll have an HR file and a company email. You're not serious. You started this. You pulled me into your spotlight, so own it. And what exactly are you applying for? I don't know. Personal chaos coordinator, handler of impulsive billionaires, executive kisser. Avery bit back a laugh. You sure you're ready for this? Remy leaned in, palms flat on the desk. I'm not scared of you, Blackwell. You should be. Why? Because you've never had someone who talks back. Because I don't know how to stop wanting you. The air cracked between them. Then Avery took a pen, signed the bottom of Remy's fake job offer. Welcome to Blackwell Global, Miss Quinn. You know this won't make things easier. I don't want easy. Avery said, I want you. For how long? Until you stop making me feel like I'm on fire. Remy smiled. Then buckle up, boss. I burn slow. Remy's first day at Blackwell Global was absolute chaos. And not because she did anything wrong. It was because she existed. Avery's staff had weathered billion-dollar catastrophes, tech leaks, even a cybersecurity scare in Singapore. But nothing prepared them for the tempest that strode in wearing vintage denim, combat boots, a blazer pilfered from Avery's closet, and a coffee cup that read, "Not here to impress your CFO." Remy made no effort to blend. She smiled at no one, carried no laptop, declined the handler someone tried to assign her, asked where her desk was. She said, "Wherever Avery needs me." That line circled the building in under 10 minutes. Avery was mid-board meeting when the first text volley lit up her phone. "Your girl's here. She's terrifying. We adore her." She ignored the lot. This was temporary. She told herself strategic, a PR bandage disguised as a favor, disguised as survival. Then she stepped out of the conference room and found Remy perched cross-legged on the corner of her own desk, a lollipop tucked in her cheek, flipping through a thick file, and every prep lie evaporated. "You're late," Remy said. "It's my company." Still rude. "You're chewing candy over my acquisition proposal. Relax. I haven't drooled on it yet. You're supposed to be shadowing me." "I am. I'm observing what happens when billionaires pretend they're not into women in boots." "That's not in the file. It's written all over your face." Avery stepped closer. "Too close. You're going to make this very complicated. You hired me for chaos. Remember, I hired you to protect you so you could stop obsessing over me." "No," Avery said, softer, "so I wouldn't lose the only woman who's ever made me feel like myself." The quiet that landed wasn't awkward. It was weighted, intentional, electric. Remy slid off the desk and faced her. "You really want to do this?" "I already am. There are people watching. Let them learn." Avery kissed her. "No staging. No cameras. Just bare, unedited need." Remy answered at once, fingers in Avery's jacket, mouth urgent, bodies fusing like heat from the inside out. 20 seconds, maybe. Then Remy broke away, breathing hard, eyes narrowed. "You realize this doesn't mean I'm going easy on you. I don't want easy." "You've said that before." "Because it's still true." "Fine," Remy said, stepping back and smoothing her clothes. "But if I'm joining this fantasy empire, I want to see how the magic is made. I want access. Real access. No filters. You want to see behind the curtain? I want to rip it down. Then come with me." Avery took her to meetings, introduced her to heads of departments, clients, partners. Remy asked sharp questions, cut through corporate talk like a blade, and never once pretended to be impressed. She wasn't there to flatter. She was there to understand. That night, Avery took her to a gala. Remy wore black silk and still managed to look like she could punch someone in it. They entered arm in arm. The cameras went wild. Whispers followed them. "That's the girl from the wedding photos." "Is that real?" Avery Blackwell's gone off script. They danced once slow in public. The music was soft. The glances weren't. Remy whispered in Avery's ear, "Do you ever get tired of pretending with you?" "I don't have to." "Good. Because I'd rather ruin the whole illusion than let you hide behind it again." Avery turned to face her inches apart. "You're ruining me or saving you that night." Back in the car, Remy said nothing, just looked out the window silent. Avery thought maybe she'd gone too far. But when they reached her building and the elevator doors closed, Remy pushed her heart against the wall and kissed her like she'd been starving all night. When they broke apart, Avery barely managed to whisper, "What was that for?" Remy smiled, wild and unapologetic. "To remind you, I'm not just a PR accident. I'm the biggest risk you've ever taken. And what if I fall? Then you fall into me. Avery laughed, breathless. You're going to be the end of me or the beginning. The elevator dinged. They stepped into darkness, into something neither of them could name. And upstairs, behind locked doors, the real chaos began. The next morning should have felt like regret. That was the narrative Avery was used to. Mistake, damage, control, cleanup. But waking up with Remy's arm draped over her waist and the morning sun spilling across the sheets, like a spotlight, made her feel everything but regret. Remy was still asleep, one leg tangled with Avery's, lips slightly parted, a small crease between her brows, like even in sleep, she didn't fully trust the world to leave her in peace. Avery didn't move. She watched, listened, memorized, because in that moment, nothing existed outside that bed. No stockholders, no contracts, no consequences. Just the warmth of another body that didn't need her to be anything but real. When Remy stirred, she opened one eye and groaned. Please tell me you're not staring at me like a creepy painting. Too late. Do I look that good or that confusing? Both. Damn. I was going for intimidating. Try harder. Remy smirked and rolled on top of her, straddling her waist, messy hair falling in all directions. You're not scared of me, are you? Terrified, Avery whispered. Good. That means you're still sane. They didn't leave the bed for hours. Talk turned into touch. Sarcasm turned into sighs. Avery forgot how to be composed. Remy never tried to be. At noon, Avery's phone exploded with calls. She ignored them. At 1 o'clock, her assistant banged on the penthouse door. You've got an interview with Forbes in 20 minutes. Tell them I'm busy. Avery shouted back, Remy's mouth on her neck. Doing what? Bad decisions. She gasped. When they finally emerged, Remy wore Avery's button-down shirt and nothing else. Avery wore the smirk of someone who'd stopped pretending to care about appearances. Downstairs, reality was waiting. Paparazzi outside the building. Headlines speculating. And in Avery's office, a crisis, a leaked internal memo. Someone had exposed the company's strategy behind the fake engagement. A plan Avery had long since abandoned the second Remy walked down that aisle. Now the board was panicking. Accusations flew. Questions about integrity, about manipulation, about how far Avery would go for attention. Remy sat on the edge of the desk while Avery paced. Do you need me to disappear? She asked. What, I mean it. I can ghost. Make this go away. You can blame me. I'll say I faked it all. Avery stopped. No, never. Then what's the move, boss? Avery turned to face her. The truth. You sure? No. But I'm more sure of you than I've been of anything in years. That afternoon, Avery called a press conference. Remy tried to talk her out of it, but Avery was done hiding. Cameras flashed. Reporters screamed. Avery stepped up to the podium and said, There's been speculation about the nature of my engagement. So, let me clarify. It was never meant to happen the way it did. The woman you saw beside me was not part of the original plan. She was an accident, a mistake, a total deviation from everything we rehearsed. And the best thing that's ever happened to me. Gasps, clicks, flashbulbs. Yes, our wedding began as a PR stunt, but it ended with something I never expected. Something real. I fell for someone I wasn't supposed to. Someone who doesn't care about wealth or power or headlines. And for the first time, I care more about protecting her than protecting my image. Reporters shouted questions. Avery ignored them, walked off stage, straight into Remy's arms behind the curtain. That's going to cost you, Remy said softly. I know, maybe everything. I've already gained more than I ever had. The backlash came fast. Articles, commentaries. A competitor launched a campaign mocking the wedding debacle. A shareholder threatened to sue. Avery's company took a temporary hit. But the public, they didn't care. They loved it, loved her, loved them. And suddenly, for the first time in a long time, Avery realized something terrifying and exhilarating. People weren't watching her because they hated her. They were watching because they were rooting for her. For them. At home that night, Remy sat cross-legged on the kitchen counter while Avery poured two glasses of wine. "So, what now?" Remy asked. "You told the world. You torched your perfect PR fairy tale. What comes next?" Avery passed her a glass. "Now we see if this is real enough to outlast the fallout." Remy lifted her drink. "To chaos. To honesty. To us." Their glasses touched. Still, at the edge of Avery's mind, doubt flickered because not everyone would let her be happy. Somewhere, someone was already honing the blade. Remy wasn't used to being despised. Overlooked, sure, misunderstood. Absolutely. But this kind of public, weaponized hatred knew territory. The morning after Avery's press conference, her face was everywhere. Cropped paparazzi close-ups, reaction videos, think pieces. Some called her a calculating climber. Others cast her as a billionaire's accidental muse. Neither was true, and both made her want to shout. Worst of all, she hadn't done anything to earn it. She never chased the spotlight. She hadn't asked to be dragged into Avery's meticulously curated world of optics and illusions. She'd simply walked into the wrong room in the wrong dress and kissed the right woman. Now even her favorite cafe felt hostile. Is that her? She doesn't look like a millionaire's type. She's in it for the money, I bet. Remy ignored most of it, but every stare shaved at her. Every comment pressed against her ribs until breathing felt tight. That night, Avery found her on the fire escape, cold metal under her, a bottle of cheap whiskey in hand. Headphones on, music roaring. Avery slid the window open. "You'll freeze out here." Remy didn't budge. "I liked my life better when no one cared about me." "You don't mean that." "Don't I?" Avery stepped onto the grate and sat beside her. "I didn't think it would get this bad." "Of course you didn't. You've spent your life being worshipped. You don't know what it's like to be hated by strangers for just existing." "I do now." Remy looked at her. "Do you regret it?" "What?" "Go in public, telling the truth?" Avery was quiet for a moment, then not for a second. Remy shook her head. "You're insane." "Probably. And reckless." "Definitely. And maybe the only person I've ever met who makes me want to stay when I should run." Avery turned to her. "Then stay. Give me one reason." "Because I'm not letting them rewrite you into something you're not." "They already did." "Then let me show them who you really are." Avery reached into her coat and handed Remy a sleek black folder. "What's this? A partnership? I want you to design a culinary series under the Blackwell brand. A real project. Something that has nothing to do with me. Just your name, your vision, your story." Remy blinked. "Are you serious? I want the world to know who you were before they tried to define you by me." "That's a PR move. It's a love letter disguised as a contract. I thought you didn't do feelings." "I didn't until I met you." Remy opened the folder. The proposal was real. Funding, staff, creative control. Her name at the top. Not as an employee, but as a founder. She closed it slowly. "What happens if I say yes? Then you stop being my shadow and start being your own light. And if I fail, then we fail together." Remy took a long breath. The city roared below them. Somewhere a siren screamed. She reached over, laced her fingers through Avery's. "Fine. But I want full creative control. And if you try to make me put truffle oil on anything, I'm out." "Deal." "And no cameras at the launch." "Agreed." "And you keep kissing me like it's the only thing that makes sense in this insane world." Avery leaned in. "That part comes naturally." They kissed again. Slow, anchoring, defiant. A promise forged in chaos. The next few weeks were a blur of movement. Remy launched her project. Remy and Fire. Audiostories following underground chefs, forgotten recipes, and the emotional stories behind the food. She was raw, sharp, beautifully unscripted. The public fell in love again for the right reasons this time. But behind the praise, something darker brewed. Avery's PR team received a package unmarked, untraceable. Inside, an envelope of printed photos. Candid shots. Remy alone. Remy entering buildings. Remy with her sister. Notes scribbled on the back in red ink. You don't know who she really is. She's not who you think. You should have stuck to the script. Avery's blood ran cold. Someone was watching Remy, tracking her, waiting. That night, she didn't tell Remy. She held her tighter in bed, watched her breathe, and silently promised, if they come for her, they'll have to go through me first. Avery didn't sleep. She lay in bed beside Remy, staring at the ceiling, fingers tracing the curve of her shoulder in the dark over and over like a prayer. She didn't know she was saying. Every sound outside made her flinch. Every creak in the hallway felt like a threat. The photos from the package were locked in her safe, but the image of them burned behind her eyelids. The angles too invasive, the captions too calculated. Someone was watching. Someone who knew how to hurt without touching. She wanted to tell Remy desperately, but Remy was finally breathing again, finally smiling, finally proud of something that had nothing to do with Avery's empire, and everything to do with her own fire. Avery couldn't take that away. Not yet. Not unless the danger got closer. So, she made a plan. Increased security at the building. Instructed her driver to take alternate routes. Assigned a shadow team to follow Remy discreetly under the guise of protecting production footage. She told herself it was enough. It had to be. But deep down she knew it wasn't. The next morning, Remy was already dressed when Avery woke up. Leather jacket, coffee in one hand. The kind of wild energy that meant she was planning to throw herself into the day like a lit match. You're staring again, she said. I'm memorizing dangerous habit. You've infected me. I'm a disease now. A beautiful one. Fatal. Remy rolled her eyes but smiled. Leaned down to kiss her forehead. I've got to interviews and a shoot today. I'll be home late. Try not to burn the empire down without me. Only slightly tempted. That's my girl. Avery watched her leave and immediately called her head of security. I want to know where she is, who's near her, what route she's taking. And I want you 5 minutes ahead of every move she makes. Ma'am, she'll notice, then make it invisible. But make it happen. At the studio, Remy's shoot was going better than expected. She was interviewing a grandmother who ran a tamale stand out of her garage. The cameras were rolling. The smells were divine. And for the first time all week, she felt grounded, whole until a man showed up. Mid-40s, expensive coat, calm eyes that made her stomach twist. He didn't introduce himself. Didn't ask permission, just stepped in behind her when the camera cut and said, "You don't belong in this world." Remy went still. Excuse me? You think you're special because you fell into her bed? Because she let you wear her last name for 5 minutes? Who are you, really? Someone who knows how this story ends. He slid a white envelope into her hand. Read this before it's too late. Then he was gone. No name, no explanation, and the crew barely looked up. Her fingers shook as she opened it. Inside, legal filings, custody papers, a photo of her sister from years ago, and a court date circled in red. Next week. Her stomach flipped. Not forged, real. Confidential. The kind of things no one should have. Avery, she thought first. Avery must have dug this up. Pulled strings. Pretended to care. Heat rose, fury hardening her breath. That night she stormed into the penthouse without knocking. Avery half stood from the couch, a smile forming then faltering at Remy's face. What happened? Don't what me. Don't play innocent. You went digging in my past. You went after my sister, Avery. Avery paled. What are you talking about? Remy slammed the envelope onto the coffee table. You had no right. Avery picked it up, flipped through, recognition sparking in her eyes. I didn't do this. Then who did? Someone who wants to scare you. Someone trying to wedge us apart. Remy's jaw tightened. It's working. Remy, please. You don't get to say please. You're the one with the power here. The one with cameras and men in suits and a life so big it swallows people whole. I can't breathe in it. Then let me make space for you. I'll cut anyone out who makes you feel small. Can you cut yourself out? The words hung like poison between them. Avery took a step back. You don't mean that. I don't know what I mean anymore. Then don't walk away. Not now. Not like this. Remy looked at her, eyes hard, then softer, then completely unreadable. I need time. She turned left. This time, Avery didn't follow. She just stood there, hands shaking, wondering if she'd already lost her before the real war even began. Avery had always thought heartbreak would be loud, breaking glass, screaming, melodrama. But it wasn't. It was silence. It was the click of the door closing behind Remy, and the absence that echoed louder than any argument ever could. Days passed. No word, no messages, just absence, stretching out like a void that swallowed everything good. Avery buried herself in work, meetings, numbers, deadlines. She moved like a ghost in designer heels, smiling at investors, shaking hands with board members, all while bleeding under her skin. At night, she'd sit on the edge of the bed Remy once curled into, staring at the imprint on the pillow like it might still be warm if she reached fast enough. But it never was. Meanwhile, Remy vanished. She shut off her phone, canceled interviews, stopped production on Remy and Fire. Her team was confused, but she gave no explanations. She stayed at a friend's loft on the Lower East Side where no one asked questions and no one cared. That she used to date a billionaire. She needed time, space. But mostly she needed to stop hearing Avery's voice every time she closed her eyes. Her sister Maya noticed immediately. Did she hurt you? She asked one night, curled up on the worn couch. Remy shook her head. She tried to protect me. That's the problem. You're mad because she cared. I'm mad because she has the power to break me. And I think she already has. Maya studied her for a long moment. Remy, don't punish someone for loving you the only way they know how, especially when it scares them. You sound like Mom. Mom would have said, get off your ass and fight for the girl. Mom had no filter. Exactly. Neither do you. So why are you being such a coward? Remy didn't answer. But the next morning she opened her inbox. There were dozens of unread messages. One from Avery's assistant, one from the Remy and Fire production manager, and one directly from Avery. No subject, no body text, just a single attachment. Remy opened it. It was a voice recording. Her thumb hovered for a second, then she pressed play. I don't know what to say. That doesn't sound like a press release. But I'm sorry for the silence, for the fear, for not knowing how to protect you without hurting you. I miss your laugh. I miss your terrible coffee. I miss the way you roll your eyes when I say something that scares you because it's true. If this is the end, fine. But if there's even a crack in that wall between us, just a crack, I'll break through it. I love you and I'm not afraid to say it out loud anymore. Remy sat frozen, then hit play again. And again that night, she showed up outside Blackwell Tower. No security stopped her. No one questioned her. It was like the building itself was holding its breath. She found Avery alone in her office, lights low, staring at the skyline like it might offer a way to erase the past week. I listened, Remy said softly. Avery turned startled. Remy, you talk better when I'm not in the room. I didn't expect you to come. Neither did I, so why are you here? Remy stepped closer. Because I'm tired of hurting. And I think you are, too. Always. Then maybe we stop punishing each other and start figuring out how to live in the same world, without falling apart. Is that possible? Only if we build a new one. Avery crossed the room slowly, stopped inches from her. I love you. Remy met her eyes. You're late. I've loved you since the moment you said, just follow my lead. Avery laughed, choked, pulled her in, and kissed her like she'd been waiting forever. It was less fire now, more gravity. Not a collision, and orbit. That night, Remy stayed. They lay in bed without touching at first, just breathing. Then, hands found familiar places slowly, reverently. They didn't need to rush. The world could wait. But in the darkness, as Avery drifted into sleep, Remy whispered, "Someone out there is trying to tear us apart. We can't ignore that." Avery didn't open her eyes, but her hand tightened around Remy's. "We won't. Not anymore." Neither of them saw the email that hit Avery's inbox at 3:12 a.m. No sender, no subject. Just one line. "You brought her back. Mistake number 2. And attached a photo of Remy taken just hours ago outside Blackwell Tower, smiling. The morning after Remy returned, everything felt deceptively calm. The sun poured into the penthouse like it had been waiting for her. Avery made coffee badly. Remy teased her gently, and for a few hours, they allowed themselves the illusion that the world outside had stopped spinning. But by noon, that illusion shattered. Avery's assistant barged into her office without knocking. "You need to see this." She handed over a tablet with shaking hands. On the screen, an anonymous blog post. Title: The Real Remy Quinn. What Avery Blackwell Doesn't Know. Avery read every word, heart sinking with each line. It was a detailed hit piece. Ugly, personal, invasive. Claims about Remy's teenage arrest record, a misunderstanding, sealed years ago. Twisted stories about her dropping out of culinary school. Accusations that she'd dated women in power before to climb the ladder. Avery felt her stomach turn. Where did this come from? No one knows. The site's offshore. It went viral overnight. Pull it down. We tried. It's already been copied to 20 other sites. Twitter's on fire. Remy's trending worldwide. Avery didn't wait. She sprinted to her apartment, heart pounding. Remy was on the couch, barefoot, holding her phone like it was radioactive. She didn't look up. "So now the world knows I got arrested at 16 for stealing tampons. It's not true. It's half true. I did it, but it was for my sister. We didn't have money. I thought it would be easy." Avery knelt in front of her. "I don't care. Let them write whatever they want. I know you." "That's the thing," Remy said, voice hollow. "They don't want to know me. They want to own the narrative. And you're in it. So now I'm the threat. No, you're the truth. And people are scared of the truth. You still don't get it." Remy stood. "This isn't about bad press anymore. This is personal. Someone is trying to destroy me, and maybe you too." Avery rose slowly. "Then we fight back with what? Money, lawyers? That doesn't fix being this. Being the wrong girl in the wrong story. You're the right girl. The only one I've ever wanted in my story." Remy's eyes shimmered with fury and something far more dangerous. Fear. "If this keeps going, I'm going to lose everything I've built. And I don't even have that much. Then let me protect you. You keep saying that like love is a shield." "No," Avery said, voice low. "Love is a weapon, and I'll use it on anyone who tries to touch you." That night, they went to an emergency meeting with Avery's security chief and legal counsel. The blog post had originated from an IP routed through multiple countries. But one lead stood out. A wire transfer from a private account linked to Trent Langford, Avery's ex, powerful, vindictive, still bitter about being cut off from the company and the woman who built it. "He's targeting her to hurt you," the chief said. "He knows where to aim." "Then hit back," Avery ordered. "I want everything. Dirt, leverage. I don't care what it costs." "There's one more thing," the security officer said carefully. "The photo of Remy outside the building. It was taken from inside your building. Someone here is leaking intel." Silence. Avery turned to Remy. "You're not safe here." "Where is safe?" "Avery. With you." "Yes." "Then prove it." They packed that night. Quietly. No staff. No drivers. Just a duffel bag and a change of clothes. Avery took Remy to a private estate in upstate New York. Quiet. gated off the grid. You have a safe house? Remy asked, eyebrow raised. I have 6. How very Batman of you. Only without the trauma. Well, less trauma. Don't joke, Remy said. I've never been this scared before. Then lean on me. What if you lean back and I break? Then I'll fall with you. The next day, they stayed inside, watched old movies, cooked together, held each other in silence. At night, Avery traced circles on Remy's back and whispered, "We're going to win this." But deep down, she knew this wasn't just about headlines anymore. It was a war, a slow, psychological one, and the people behind it knew exactly where to hit. That night, Avery's phone buzzed again. One message, no number. You're hiding her. Cute, but you can't hide forever. Attached a photo of Avery in the safe house kitchen pouring wine taken through the window. Recently, Remy saw her expression change. What is it? Avery hesitated, then handed her the phone. Remy's face went pale. They know where we are. We'll move again. No, Remy said, voice suddenly cold. No more running. What do you mean? Remy stared at the photo, jaw tight. It's time we go to war. Remy didn't sleep that night. Not because she couldn't, but because she wouldn't. She sat by the safe house window, eyes locked on the tree line, fingers clenched around a mug of coffee gone cold. Across the room, Avery watched blanket around her shoulders, trying not to show how scared she was. Not of the threat, but of losing Remy again. Not to distance or doubt, but to a fury that refused to quiet. Remy, she murmured, come back to bed. I'm done hiding in beds. You're not alone in this. No, Remy said, still staring outside. Now you're a target, too. I don't care about me. I do. The silence between them held the weight of a sky before it breaks. Avery rose, crossed the room, and knelt beside her. Then let me help. Let me fight with you. You don't know how to fight dirty. I have a whole team that does. Remy finally turned to her. Then we start there. By morning, Avery had lit up every private channel she'd spent years cultivating the off-grid contacts. You won't find in her Forbes profile. Black hat hackers, investigative journalists who owed her favors, lawyers who answered only to their own rules. In under 12 hours, they had what they feared. Trent Langford had paid to have Remy tailed, probed, and packaged as a manipulative social climber, and he hadn't acted alone. Someone inside Blackwell Global was feeding him precision intel. The betrayal landed harder than the smear. Avery convened her inner circle, 5 people she trusted, or thought she did. One of you is supplying my ex with information about the woman I love, she said, voice like ice. You have 24 hours to come clean. After that, I burn this building down until I find the traitor. Her CFO nervous, her communications director wide-eyed, her assistant visibly sweating, her head of security expression unreadable. Remy stood at her side, quiet, scanning faces, listening more than speaking. She wasn't the outcast anymore. She was the fire. That night, Avery and Remy returned to the penthouse. Not because it was safe, but because they were done hiding. We need to hit back publicly, Remy said. Turn the narrative. We will. I mean it. No more passive press releases. No comments. We take control. You want to tell your story? No. I want to show them. So, they made a plan. A public documentary, raw, unedited, from Remy's perspective. How she was dragged into a fake engagement, fell in love for real, got targeted by a powerful man who couldn't stand to lose control. They'd used Avery's resources, but Remy's voice. The first teaser dropped on a Thursday night, 1 minute long. Just Remy alone on screen saying, "You think I'm a gold digger, a liar, a mistake. But you only know one version of this story, and it's time I told mine." The internet exploded. Hashtags trended. Messages poured in. Some hateful, but most supportive. People wanted to hear her, believe her. And Trent Langford, he panicked enough to send a cease and desist. enough to show his hand. That was the opening Avery needed. She countered with a lawsuit, defamation, digital stalking, attempted corporate sabotage. Her lawyers worked like assassins, but it was Remy's presence in the press that turned the tide. She went on camera again and again, refusing to be victimized, refusing to shrink. Avery stood beside her every time until one night as they walked off a late-night talk show. Set hand in hand, Remy said, "I think we're winning. You think?" Avery smirked. "I've never lost a war. You've never fought one that meant this much." "True." Remy looked at her. "Do you think we'll survive it?" "We're not just going to survive," Avery said. "We're going to rewrite the ending." But just as the air started to shift, just as momentum turned in their favor, Avery's phone buzzed with a message that froze her blood. A single word, checkmate, attached a photo of Remy's sister, Maya, leaving her college building, taken from a distance, time-stamped that day. Avery felt her stomach drop. "No," she whispered. Remy turned instantly. "What is it?" Avery didn't answer. She just handed her the phone. Remy went pale. Her voice cracked. "They're going after my sister." Avery grabbed her coat. "We're not letting that happen." "Where are we going?" "To take back control. And if they try to stop us," Avery's voice turned steel, "then I'll remind them exactly how dangerous love can be." Avery drove like she had nothing left to lose. Her jaw was tight, knuckles white on the steering wheel, mind spinning through 10 different scenarios, none of them good. Remy sat beside her, silent, not crying, not trembling, just still. Dangerous. She hadn't said a word since seeing the photo of her sister, Maya, leaving her college building, unaware she was being followed. "You okay?" Avery finally asked. Remy's voice was like broken glass. "I was prepared for them to come for me. Not her, never her. They made this personal. It was always personal. But now it's war." They arrived at Maya's dorm before midnight. Avery's private security had already stationed themselves discreetly, blending in like shadows on the perimeter. Maya was safe, confused, but safe. When Remy hugged her, she held on for nearly a full minute. "You don't have to explain," Maya murmured. "I trust you, and I trust her." She tipped her chin toward Avery. "Just win." Avery and Remy returned to the penthouse with fire in their blood. Avery poured 2 fingers of whiskey, but didn't drink. Remy paced. "They're still watching us every move, every ping. Then we stop reacting." "Meaning?" "We go on offense." Avery drew a folder from her private vault. "Trent Langford has always been to things, arrogant and sloppy. And I keep receipts. Inside. Documents, bank statements, old audio files, proof of his crooked deals, stock manipulation, blackmail, and worse, a bribery scheme tied to a tech merger that, if exposed, could end him." "Why didn't you use this before?" Remy asked. "Because I didn't need to. Until now. So we blackmail him. No, we let him implode." Avery activated every contact in her book: regulators, reporters, federal agents she'd kept at arm's length until today. Piece by piece, she set the stage for Trent Langford's collapse. Meanwhile, Remy went on the offensive her own way. The second episode of her documentary dropped. It opened with her walking through the neighborhood she grew up in. No makeup, no glam team, just her voice. "You know the version of me they gave you. Let me give you mine." She talked about poverty, about being 17 and alone, about loving women and being told to shrink. About Avery. "She never asked me to be anyone else. She just saw me, and I saw her past the power, past the walls. I saw the woman who wasn't afraid to love something real, even when it could ruin everything." The internet exploded again, but this time with overwhelming support. Letters poured in. Donations to food banks in Remy's hometown skyrocketed. Even politicians started quoting her. Remy had become a voice bigger than the scandal, bigger than the hate. And Trent Langford, he panicked. He went on live TV, tried to discredit them, claimed Remy manipulated Avery, claimed Avery ruined him out of spite, but he underestimated two things: how much Remy was loved now, and how much Avery was willing to burn. Within 48 hours, Avery's lawyers released documents implicating Trent Langford in insider trading and bribery. The recordings followed audio of Trent Langford mocking shareholders, threatening competitors, laughing about how he could ruin anyone. The public turned on him instantly. The board of his company removed him. Sponsors fled. The feds launched an official investigation. His empire collapsed. That night, Avery found Remy on the roof of their building barefoot, staring out at the city. "It's done," Avery said. "We won. It doesn't feel like winning." "What does it feel like?" "Heavy," Avery nodded. "You were never supposed to carry all this. Neither were you." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Remy asked, "If you had to do it all over again, would you still say, 'Follow my lead'?" Avery turned to her. "I'd say it louder." Remy leaned against her shoulder. "You terrify me." "Why?" "Because loving you means giving up the part of me that never trusted anyone. And I don't know who I am without that armor." "Then let's find out together." Remy closed her eyes. "There's one thing I want. Anything. I want to end this on my terms. I want the final episode to be live. One night, unedited. Just me telling the truth about everything. Even about us. Especially about us." Avery hesitated. "You know what that means, right? That they'll watch us fall or rise." Avery whispered, "Let's give them a show." But as they sat under the night sky, a figure stood 2 rooftops away, camera in hand, lens trained on their silhouettes. The war was almost over, but not everyone wanted peace. The day of the live broadcast arrived, cloaked in a kind of stillness Remy hadn't felt since before the storm began. But beneath the silence, everything vibrated. Pressure, anticipation, danger. It wasn't just a documentary finale anymore. It was a reckoning. One shot. No edits. No doovers. Just her, the camera, and the world watching, waiting to see if she'd survive her own story. The studio was bare purposefully. Black backdrop. One chair. One spotlight. No glam. No notes. No distractions, just Remy. Avery offered to be there off camera, but Remy shook her head. "If I don't do this alone, it won't mean anything." "You're not alone," Avery whispered, brushing a thumb across her cheek. "I'm just not in the frame." Remy gave her a soft smile, then walked toward the stage. 30 seconds to air. She took her seat, breathed once, and looked straight into the lens. "Live. Hi," she began. "You know me by a lot of names. The girl who hijacked a fake wedding, the gold digger, the impulsive bartender, the mistake. But those names don't belong to me. You gave them to me. You painted your version. Tonight I take it back." She paused. Let silence speak before she continued. "I grew up poor. My mother died when I was 16. I got arrested once for stealing tampons because I was too proud to ask for help. I dropped out of culinary school to take care of my little sister. I made choices, some of them ugly, all of them mine." Her voice never wavered. "Then I walked into a ceremony by accident and met a woman who was everything I thought I hated. Polished, powerful, cold. Except she wasn't. She was just tired of pretending to be untouchable. And somehow she saw me. Past the armor, past the attitude, she saw me." She paused again. "Then we didn't fall in love like a fairy tale. We collided loudly, painfully, beautifully. She scared me. I ran. She chased me. I broke. She stayed." Her eyes glistened, but she didn't cry. "People like us aren't allowed to love publicly. We're told it's too much, too fast, too messy. But I'm not asking for permission anymore. I'm standing here because I love her. I love Avery Blackwell, and no smear campaign, no X, no billionaire grudge will ever erase what we built." She leaned forward, gaze intense. "You tried to destroy me, and you failed. Because I'm still here, whole, loud, and more dangerous than you ever imagined." The feed cut to black. No credits, no logos, just silence. Then the internet detonated. Tens of millions watched live. Even more watched in the next hour. Hashtags flooded every platform. Remy, Quinn, Truth, Love is Power, Blackwell, and Fire. The final shot. Remy looking straight into the lens, fierce and tearless, became the image of the year. Avery watched from a monitor backstage, hand pressed to her lips, eyes burning. Then Remy appeared, silent, radiant. They didn't speak. Avery just pulled her close and kissed her. Slow, deliberate. No flashbulbs, no script, just them. Hours later, the emails started pouring in. Sponsorships, speaking offers, film deals, politicians asking to quote her speech. But Remy shut it all down. She didn't want to become a product. She just wanted to be real. You don't owe the world your pain, Avery reminded her. I know, Remy said, but I owed it to myself to speak. That night, the Blackwell Tower was silent. For the first time in months, no headlines, no flashing lights, no cameras outside, just stillness. Peace until Avery's phone rang. A secure number. Don't answer, Remy murmured, head on her shoulder. It could wait, but Avery did. Her voice was sharp. Blackwell. A pause. Then we caught him. Avery sat up. Who? The leak. It wasn't a board member. It wasn't Trent Langford. It was your assistant. Silence. Pure deafening silence. Remy looked up. What is it? Avery's voice cracked. The one person I trusted more than anyone. The voice on the phone continued. She sold photos. Eavesdropped. Fed info to Trent Langford in exchange for a position at his firm. After you cut ties, she played both sides. And she's disappeared. Where? Avery asked. We don't know. But she's running and she's not alone. That last sentence hit like a punch. Not alone. We intercepted a communication. There's someone else involved. Someone you haven't accounted for. Avery stood. So did Remy. This isn't over, Avery whispered. I thought it was, Remy said. But I think we're just getting to the final battle. And then the building went dark. Lights out. Power dead. Emergency systems failing. Somewhere below, a siren started wailing. And in that moment, Remy turned to Avery. I'm not afraid, she said. Not anymore. Avery grabbed her hand tight, unshakable. Then let them come. The emergency lights flickered red as the Blackwell Tower plunged into darkness. Somewhere below, the backup generators coughed to life, but only for a moment. Then silence. Dead silence. The kind that doesn't just fill a room, it presses into your ribs. Remy stood barefoot in Avery's office, heart pounding, eyes scanning the shadows. Avery grabbed her by the hand, firm but calm. We need to move now. Where? Security floor. There's a fail-safe access point there. From that server. I can trace who's doing this. You have your own spy system. I'm rich and paranoid. Of course I do. They moved quickly through the halls, lit only by thin emergency strips along the floor. On the 32nd floor, Avery swiped a hidden panel behind a wall painting. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside, a sleek security hub, silent and glowing red. System's been compromised, Avery muttered. But not wiped. I can still get in. Remy paced. This isn't just some hacker trying to scare us. No, this is internal. The assistant and whoever she's working with. Avery's fingers danced across the keyboard. A map of the building popped up. Multiple signals. Movement. Floor 28. Then 29. They were coming up fast. Armed. Remy asked. Looks like it. Perfect. She pulled open a metal cabinet and found a steel baton. You hide. I stall. Absolutely not. You said you loved me. Prove it by staying safe. I'm not leaving you to face this alone. Then stay close. And if I get hit first, avenge me dramatically. God, I love you, Avery muttered. Then duck. The door to the security room exploded inward with a bang. Smoke poured in. Remy grabbed Avery and dragged her down behind a server's stack. Footsteps entered. Heavy boots. Male voices. Check the terminals. Don't let them wipe anything. What about the girl? We take her alive. Remy locked eyes with Avery. Not happening. Then everything moved fast. Remy surged forward, bat in hand, slamming it into the first man's knee. He collapsed with a grunt. Avery grabbed a fire extinguisher and sprayed another in the face, then cracked it against his skull. The third aimed a taser. Remy kicked it out of his hand, punched him in the throat, and shoved him into the wall. But a fourth grabbed her from behind, slammed her into the terminal hard. Avery screamed, "Remy, I'm fine." Remy gasped, elbowing him hard enough to break free. But before she could move again, a calm, cold voice echoed through the smoke. "Enough." They all froze. A woman stepped through the haze. Expensive heels, smooth hair, ice in her eyes. Avery's former assistant. "Hello, Avery. You traitoress. You know I never cared that you fired me. I cared that you replaced me, that you let her in and gave her everything." She looked at Remy. "You don't deserve her. You were never supposed to survive this world. But you did. And that ruins the whole system. That's the difference between you and me." Remy spat. "I don't survive systems. I destroy them." The woman smiled. "That's what I'm counting on." She raised a remote, pressed a button. A timer lit up on the terminal screen. 259. 258. Avery blanched. "What is that?" "A full system purge. Your servers, your contracts, your legacy, and her documentary. You'll erase everything, including you." Remy moved fast, sprinting toward the panel. But one of the men grabbed Avery and held a knife to her throat. "Touch that terminal and she bleeds." "Remy, don't!" Avery shouted. Remy stopped, breathing hard. "Heartbreaking. You said you wouldn't hurt her." "I lied." "You want me?" Remy said, stepping forward. "Let her go. I want the story to end the right way. The empire falls. The girl loses. And the world forgets your name." "No," Avery said. "The world remembers the ones who fought, the ones who bled, and the ones who refused to die quietly." Then she bit the attacker's wrist hard. He screamed, loosening his grip. Remy surged forward and slammed her baton into his ribs. Avery elbowed him in the face. He dropped. The timer ticked down 114. Remy turned to the traitor. "You have one chance. Or what? Or I show you what happens when you underestimate a girl who's had nothing to lose her entire life." "You won't shoot me." "You're right," Remy said, grabbing the woman's arm and twisting the remote from her grip. "I'll ruin you instead." She turned to Avery. "Can you reverse it?" "I can try." Avery's fingers flew across the keys. Come on. 44. The system sputtered. The files started restoring. Avery gasped. "It's working." A shot rang out. Avery flinched. But it wasn't her. The traitor dropped to the ground, screaming. Remy stood above her, holding the gun she'd taken from one of the men. "I wasn't aiming to kill," she said, "but next time I won't miss." Avery finished the override. The purge froze. Stopped at O2. Silence. Smoke. Then the hum of restored systems. Remy collapsed into the nearest chair. Avery joined her breathless. "We did it. Barely. We're alive for now." "And your documentary?" Avery glanced at the screen. Still there. Remy turned to her wild-eyed and smiling. "So, does this count as our first real fight? If it does, we need therapy." But they both laughed, shaking, bloody, but still laughing. Still alive. Still them. Below them, the authorities stormed the building. The attackers were arrested, the traitor taken into custody. And the world would wake up the next morning to headlines they never expected. Billionaire CEO and accidental bride foil corporate sabotage in midnight attack. But Remy didn't care about headlines. She looked at Avery. "I almost lost you. You didn't. I will never stop fighting for you." Then marry me, Avery whispered. Remy blinked. What? I'm not asking for PR. Not for distraction. Just us. Real. Messy. True. Remy stared at her, then smiled. You said that in part 1, and I meant it in part 13. Then ask me again in part 15, Remy said. Because when I say yes, it's going to be the loudest yes the city has ever heard. Avery laughed, kissed her hard, and below them, the city began to glow again. For the first time in what felt like forever, the city was quiet. Not in the literal sense. New York never slept. But for Remy and Avery, the silence after the storm wasn't absence. It was sanctuary. The news had been a wildfire. CEO and fiancé foil corporate sabotage. Remy Quinn disarms attack in high-rise showdown. From accidental bride to national heroine. The world had opinions. The world always did. But for once, Remy didn't care because the war was over and she had survived it. Not alone. With Avery still whole, still hers. They spent the next few days offered in one of Avery's private penis upstate. No phones, no press, no suits, no makeup, just coffee in oversized mugs. Slow mornings in tangled sheets, and healing in silence. Avery watched Remy sleep sometimes, not like a lover watching beauty, but like a survivor counting breaths, making sure it was real. That she was here, that she was safe. You're staring, Remy mumbled one morning without opening her eyes. It's not creepy if I'm in love with you. Still creepy, but hot. Avery kissed her shoulder. The board called again. You going to answer? Not until I know I'm ready to care about empires again. You built an empire. You can build another. I'm thinking of building a garden instead. Now that's hot. But even peace had its echoes. One night, while washing dishes, Remy paused, sponge frozen in midair. Avery noticed instantly. What is it? I keep waiting for the next attack. There won't be one. You don't know that. I do, Avery said softly, walking over, wrapping her arms around her from behind. Because now they know you're not afraid to burn the whole system down. Remy leaned into her. I didn't mean to fall in love with you, you know. Neither did I. It's terrifying. It still is. But also the only thing that's ever made me feel like I could be more than just surviving. Avery turned her around. Then don't just survive with me. Live with me. Messy, loud, joyfully. Remy searched her eyes. You're really not going to propose again? Not unless you tell me to. Good. Because when I say yes, I want to wear jeans and scream it in Times Square. Done? And I want 3 wedding cakes. Done. And a prenup that includes a clause for weekly back rubs. Now that's a non-negotiable. They kissed, not with urgency, but with depth, with trust, with a softness that only comes after war. Back in a city, the aftermath unfolded. Trent Langford was indicted. The assistant plead guilty. Avery stepped down from the day-to-day at Blackwell Global, naming a new CEO and choosing to move into a quieter, more creative role. Remy's docuseries was renewed globally. Streaming platforms fought for her next project, but she declined all of them for now. Instead, she opened a community kitchen in her old neighborhood, named it Second Flame. No press release, no launch party, just a sign on the door and the smell of bread in the morning. Avery helped paint the walls terribly, and every Saturday, she hosted knife skills workshops for teens with too much rage and not enough direction. They lived simply, quietly, at least for a while, until one night. Walking home from the Prospect Square Market, Avery paused under a blinking street lamp and said, "You said to ask again in part 15. Remy raised an eyebrow. You planning something dramatic? Always. Well, Remy said, adjusting the brown paper bag in her arms. You better make it good. Oh, it will be. That night, Avery disappeared for 2 hours. When she returned, she wouldn't say where she'd gone. Just kissed Remy and said, "Where's something you can run in tomorrow?" Why? Because if I'm going to ask you the most important question of my life, I want to do it where it all began. Remy blinked. The wedding. The wrong wedding. The best wrong turn I ever made. Then come with me one more turn. And Remy, smiling like she hadn't smiled in weeks, nodded. Okay, but you better bring cake. Avery smirked. 3 cakes, back rub, claws included. They stood there under the street light, 2 women who had burned and bled and refused to break. And as the world kept spinning, they held on to each other like gravity. Still loud, still messy, still in love, and ready for the ending only they could write. The sky over Manhattan was starred with gold, the kind of early autumn light that made even chaos feel like poetry. Avery stood in the middle of the same St. Helena Cathedral where months ago, she'd been moments away from saying I do to a man she didn't love for a merger. She didn't want in a life that wasn't hers. But this time the room was empty. No orchestra, no aisle of strangers, no scripted perfection, just her. And the only woman who had ever made her feel truly seen. Remy stood by the altar in ripped jeans, a white tank beneath a scuffed leather jacket, wearing a nervous grin that said it all. This wasn't the ending she'd pictured, but it was the one she wanted. This is really where it happened, she asked, turning slowly to take it in. Where we met. Technically, Avery said. This is where you crashed someone else's wedding. Told me I was beautiful to my face, and blew into my life like a hurricane. Best wrong room I ever walked into. You have no idea. Remy faced her again, eyes warm. So why are we here? Avery drew a steady breath, reached into her pocket, and pulled out a small black ring box. Because I meant it when I said I wanted to ask you again. Not in front of cameras, not to patch a scandal. Not because we almost lost each other, but because, through all of it, you've become the home I never thought I'd find. She stepped closer, voice low, unguarded. You make the quiet after the storm sound like music. You showed me power isn't control. It's surrender, choosing love when it scares you. And I want to spend the rest of my life choosing you loudly, publicly, forever. She opened the box. Inside, a silver band. Simple, honest. Remy Quinn, will you marry me? No contracts, no headlines, just us. Remy stared at her, lips parted, heart in her throat. Say it again, she whispered. I love you. I choose you. Will you marry me? Remy didn't answer with words. She launched forward, arms around Avery's neck, mouth on hers in a kiss that said yes 1,000 times over. When they finally broke apart, breathless, Remy whispered, only if I get to pick the playlist. You're getting 3 cakes. You can have the damn playlist. Good, because the first song's going to be Billie Eilish, and the last one's going to be Bohemian Rhapsody. So, I hope your board's ready to dance. I'm not inviting the board. Even better. They laughed forehead to forehead in the middle of the same space that once felt like a prison. And now felt like a beginning. A week later, the internet broke again. Not from scandal, but from a single post. A photo of Remy and Avery barefoot in the grass, holding hands and laughing under string lights. 3 mismatched cakes behind them. Captioned. This time we both said yes. The ceremony was private. 20 guests. Maya was maid of honor. Avery's mother, who had once begged her to keep her love quiet, stood up during the toast and said, I was wrong. You didn't ruin your life. You rebuilt it. Remy wore white jeans and a blazer. Avery wore a silky slip dress and sneakers. And when the officiant said, do you? Remy interrupted. Yes, I haven't finished. Still, yes. Avery grinned. Same. They kissed before they were told to. No one cared. The world didn't end. It bloomed. Later, they danced in the garden with no shoes. Avery spilled wine on her dress. Remy sang off-key into a wooden spoon. And when the final song played, Remy's choice, they pulled each other close and swayed under the stars. I never thought I'd have this, Remy whispered. You don't have it, Avery murmured back. We built it from ashes, from blood, from the biggest mistake of your life, walking into the wrong wedding. Remy smiled against her neck. You never let me forget that, huh? Not for a second. Because I never want to forget that the most beautiful thing in my life started with a moment no one planned. And as the night deepened, as the lights glowed, as two women who had burned and bled and dared to love stood holding each other, like the answer to every question, it became clear. Forever isn't always quiet. Sometimes it arrives like a storm or a broken heel on a church floor or a vow whispered in the dark. But when it's real, you know, and they knew finally they were home. If you enjoyed this content and want to support the channel in a special way, try clicking the thanks button below. It's the one with the heart and $ icon. With super thanks, you can make a direct contribution to the channel, which helps me keep creating awesome videos for you.